right! We will say, how are you all, but seeing your time as you create time to exist.
Bowl flowing.
Bowl flowing, all right. So, may we continue with an idea we have been discussing this week of your time. The idea of daring you to be yourselves. In this way, allow us to, let us say, precede this idea, if I may, become a little bit intimate with you. May I?
Yes.
All right. Now, many times you will find that many of what you call the consciousnesses to which you refer to us as ourselves in that way, and many other what you call entities coming through many other what you call channels or mediums upon your planet at this time, allow me to discuss an idea with you with regard to the idea of the channelings that are taking place upon your planet at this time from many different levels of consciousness. Do not forget, including your own. For in this way, as well, your own future selves, your own higher selves are involved in this process, for they know already where you are headed. And they are looking back, reaching out your hands to yourselves, and helping yourselves across the span of time. You follow me?
Yeah.
Now, understand that to use your terminology, to be colloquial, to be, in your terms, practical for a moment, allow us in this way to illuminate the idea that dealing with you as we do, particularly, when there is a gathering of you, as opposed to an individual, you will find that though we are in this way creating the interaction with you in and of the moment, there will be ideas that flow into this interaction that will regulate the balance of how the information, how the interaction takes place with you. Recognize it this way, if you will, the idea that with so many differentiating consciousnesses as you have allowed yourselves to create yourselves to be, it is, in a sense, a balancing act to find the, let us say, commonality by which we can deal in that way on some level that represents something you can allow yourselves to work with in terms of information that we can share with you. Recognize many times in this way the polarities, the dichotomies, and the paradoxes that we find in this way you have created in your society will enable us many times, in a sense, to create the type of interactions with you from all the different entities channeling to you at this time that form a subtle balance, a subtle, shall we say, engineering of how you receive the information. Now, understand, we are not engineering you against your will, no. What we are doing, however, is choosing in this way, in the moment, from our knowing selves, what type of information will be of best service to the overall understanding and impact, even though your outer aware, immediately focused physical consciousness may not make sense of the immediate idea of the answers and the sharings that we have with you. Recognize that this is also part and parcel of what you have many times come to understand as discrepancies in information in this way between various entities. Recognize that you allow us to perform a very delicate balance with you in this way, and the idea of fulfilling assistance to you in the overall way you do desire us to do so means that from time to time you will find that between all of the consciousnesses that are channeling to you, we will come up with methodologies that may seem to contain discrepancies, differentiations, dichotomies, but that are specifically engineered to bring you to a certain creative pressure point. You follow me?
Yes.
In this way, understand that when I told you, in your terms, that my job was an engineer. It is not just a technical engineer. It is a sociological engineer. It is the reason for why I have allowed myself to pattern the interaction with you. It is the idea of the engineering in the now moment of interactions between civilizations. Understand, we are not meaning in any way, shape, and form to express this idea as superiority to you. No. But in this way, simply do recognize that we have done this many times. And we do not wish to frustrate you. We do not wish to disappoint you. We do not wish in this way, at any time, to allow you to feel that we are chastising, that we are in any way, shape, or form not willing to share with you that which your heart so strongly desires, for this is far from the case. But simply in our point of view, from our experience, the way we are sharing with you is the way that is what will grant you your desire with regard to what you seek with us and many other civilizations. For in this way, you have created your specific civilization to be a very strongly focused one in its own accord. And any transformation from that focus to another focus is going to contain a large degree of very delicate shifts and balances. And in this way, when we give you a little of this, share a little of that, when you allow yourself to come to a point of pondering ideas that have been discussed, when you feel within yourself that you are at a standstill, at a loss, racked with confusion, doubting yourselves, judging yourselves, feeling chastised, feeling held back, simply allow yourselves to understand that all of the places that you find yourself to be are, in a sense, a part of the emotionality that needs to be experienced so that you can engineer yourselves into the appropriate creative pressure points that are the doorways through which you will step and find yourself where you have for so long desired to be, when your timing is appropriate. You follow me?
Yes.
Always, we love you very much and appreciate your willingness to allow us to interact with you in this way. For always, the interaction with us, for us, with any civilization, has enriched us beyond measure, enriched us beyond counting, enriched us beyond naming. For it allows us the opportunity, as we have shared with you many times, to understand that much more of creation and all the different ways that all that it has of manifesting itself within the creation of itself and the knowingness of itself through all that it has created within it. Now, the idea is to allow you to be aware consciously of this type of engineering, because now you are, since this is the activity time, the doing time, able to begin to know that you are in control of everything that occurs in your life and that you are the engineers, and you can now consciously recognize that fact. We have not so much been doing any engineering for you, but have only been reflecting to you the engineering that your higher selves have been ordaining so that you would reach the point you have desired. We thank you for allowing us to reflect this to you in this way, and we will now continue to co-engineer on an equal basis. Sure.
Bashar.
You, then you, then you.
Can you give us some specific examples of what you've been talking about tonight?
Not without treading on too many toes. And in a sense, not without revealing something at this time which is personal to many individuals.
Okay, I presume that something came up that has inspired...
In this way, it is simply the idea, as it has now clicked over, as you say, into many different personal events within the mass consciousness that allows us to recognize that this is the timing for this information. If each and every one of you, or some of you, find it has personal meaning, accept it as such, and apply it as such as your own engineer.
Okay. Since this is Activity Month, would you say...
That will always now be the case, and also that will be the underlying energy that will allow you the opportunity to express that energy in terms of physical action outwardly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bashar, I have a little bit that I'm in some confusion.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Co-fuse with us.
A friend of mine called me last Wednesday night. I was not here, and I was real excited, and I wanted to go out, and I wanted to do something because this was Activity Month.
Good.
In your words, right? And as soon as I got up and I started doing things, and I ran to the door, and I realized there was nothing for me to do. So,
Nothing? Nothing at all?
Nothing physically.
Nothing at all?
Well, that's what I'm asking, actually.
Were you present when we suggested the writing of your letters?
No.
All right. In this way, recognize one of the suggestions we have made is that in the practice, so to speak, quote unquote, of recognizing that you are, your government, your political institutions, your social, economic, and religious institutions, that you are equal to them, communicate with them. Write to them every day. Every day. Let them know, not chastising, not denunciating, not judging, not admonishing, but with love and compassion and equality, let them simply know that you prefer peace. Every single day. I prefer peace. Thank you very much. Your friend. That is one thing you can do. Allow your imagination free rein, for you would simply find that if you were willing to allow your imagination free rein, you could have thought of 1,000,001 things to do in that moment just by simply sitting down and doing them.
Okay, there were things that I did.
Yes.
Sort of.
Such as?
Well, I meditated a lot.
All right.
Okay, and
we are talking about outward action as well now.
Well, that's what I wanted to understand. Does it mean physically out?
Yes. Yes. This is the physical universe you are in. This is the idea. It is the application of knowledge in your world that makes the difference. It is your willingness to act as a creator, not to sit and think of yourself as a creator who does not create on all levels. It is the idea of being willing to, in your terms, walk your talk. It is simply in the channels memory bank. We will utilize whatever phraseology and tool fits the bill. Thank you. The idea is that now that you have taken it in, put it back out.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yes. I want to talk about the idea. Okay, the idea a few weeks ago, and we've been talking about the idea that the present is not the result of the past. Okay. Now.
One more time.
Now.
With feeling.
Now.
All right.
A lot of, quote, gurus, say from the East,
yes.
From India, and from that masters from different places. Okay. We'll talk about the idea of karma. And,
right.
And I guess, if you read books that were written in the 1950s and stuff, there'll be a lot of talk about karma. Now, is that considered a third density idea?
In a sense, that...
Okay. Now, yet these people who I've been in the presence of during over the years seem very much enlightened. Now, are they teaching that out of the idea that we were very much involved with third density, and they were also aware that there's no such thing as karma, or did they really?
Some of them may have different degrees of realization. And in this way, though they may know intrinsically of the idea of enlightenment, they may still be utilizing the symbologies that individuals are used to so that the individuals can understand what is being said.
That's what I was saying. Now, however, they were taught by their masters, or their teachers, those same kind of ideas
Right.
of cause and effect, and so I wondered how much...
These ideas are beginning to change. Understand that even at the base of all they are teaching, quote unquote, is the idea of the transcending of the karmic cycle.
Right.
Now understand that the fundamental methodology of transcending the karmic cycle is to know you created it and
Right.
do not have to choose it.
Right.
That is the whole idea, in a nutshell, as you say.
Okay. Now, they also, in a lot of the writings, will say you need to have a...
This is simply a reflection of the pattern that you all have laid down in your society and are still very willing to give yourselves in that way.
Okay.
It is the need that is only the need of the expression of what you have set up to be your needs. And so you will fulfill that interaction. Understand, as has also been pointed out many times, you are your own teachers. You are all masters.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. In fact, well, I guess about a month ago I was talking to you about an experience I had, and you kiddingly, or I felt very lovingly, said, always the rebel.
Nice.
Okay. And...
Can be the same thing as a master.
Oh, thank you. Because there are times when I have, anyway, in the past, as we know, the past exists,
Right.
judged myself because it's like I felt like, well, because I'm not someone that would just go along with the group. And
Right. May I remind you of something?
Yeah.
Had not all individuals that you perceive to be masters at some time also judged themselves, they would not be masters, for they would not have experienced all they needed to experience.
Okay. All right. I also have another... Thank you. I have a
Thank
question.
you.
Now, when you said when we experience the idea of that the present is not a result of the past, then we will be experiencing fourth density.
Yes. Now.
Okay, go ahead.
No.
Now. Okay, now. When we make the move into fifth density,
Right.
does that still apply, or is that no longer a truth in fifth density? I mean, does that sound strange? But
Ultimate truth is composed of all truths.
okay, so is there such a... Okay, so does that still apply when you're in fifth density?
In a sense,
totally different.
it is more the well, it is different, yes, but it is also the idea that you will now, to use your term, lose tools. You will drop them by the wayside.
Okay,
And so it will not be so much that you will gain that idea back, it will remain gone. For in this way you will also understand that in fifth density, the very concepts of past, present, and future will become more one idea. Literally, experientially, because you will not be physical as you have known it at all.
Okay. Now, the idea of meditation, which I enjoy,
Right,
and
of course.
I would too. Okay. Now, do you meditate on your planet, or
Not so much as you understand the setting aside of
Right.
a time
Right.
in that way. We are, in a sense, always active and always meditating at the same time.
Like I feel a lot that I'm meditating as I'm doing
Oh,
whatever
yes.
I'm doing.
There are all types of meditation.
Okay. Now, when you go into fifth, like you said, when we realize what is it? You know, that is there feel, and all of a sudden you're in the fifth density.
It will be the recognition, first of all, that you simply no longer need the entire tool of physicality anymore at all.
Okay.
This is why you will find at the end of fourth density experience, what we perceive to be in a couple of thousand of your years as you count time, you will simply begin to, well, leave your bodies.
Okay.
Not through dis-ease or aging, just leave.
Okay. Now I found that for me right now is
Of course.
because I have a lot of my life not wanted to be physical and resisted my choice. So actually, even though from what you just said, even though I'm anxious for fifth density, I realized that.
Oh, let me tell you, you would not want to miss fourth.
I'm starting to feel that now. Yeah,
Oh,
so-
thank you.
Yeah, it's starting to be okay.
Now understand that in between each and every life you have had, you have always had the choice to go where you want to do.
Right.
Obviously, you made the choice to be here.
Yeah, I'm starting to discover my purpose, you know.
Thank you!
Yeah, thank
you!
you.
You were just telling Pam that she wouldn't want to miss sports, but in fact she hasn't. I mean, since everything is happening now.
Yes. Do not allow for the negative confusion of the idea of the paradox of having to speak in your language to describe certain things. Do not think we are contradicting what was said before, but simply that as long as you are asking a question in a time frame, we will answer it in a time frame.
I understand, yeah.
All right.
But a lot of times I feel that I am existing in different existences.
Of course you are.
And so that I don't want to miss sports either.
You won't.
But I'd like to share something.
Go ahead.
Last week, I was doing a lot of third density work again, but as I say, like before that, I shared with you. But the whole time, I felt like I was...
May I point something out for a moment? Just as a point of interest.
Yeah.
The idea of continuing to make the separation between what is third density work and fourth density work is a third density idea.
Okay. I don't think... I wasn't aware of it at the time.
All right.
That's what was so interesting. I was in meetings all week from morning to... I was never bored. And I just experienced... I was really in the now. It was a very interesting thing. There was a funny incident... towards the end of the week, at one point, and a person across the table said, well, Rosemary is trying to say that I said it. And everybody laughed, and I laughed too, but I'm sure we laughed for different reasons, because we're talking about, if I had said something to the effect, well, you don't try, since you do everything in the now, you don't try, they would have thought I was crazy.
Oh, who says?
Maybe not.
Oh, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. But I thought it was kind of funny. I enjoyed the incident.
Very good. Thank you for being bold enough not to object, but to subject.
Okay, I don't quite understand what you mean by that.
Any objection is a subjective point of view.
Okay.
You are simply delineating what your particular subjective point of view is on a certain idea. Willing to be subjective in that way.
Okay. All right, I'll think about that. My eyes aren't quite as good as they should be.
What? Should?
Oh, yeah.
We have discussed many times the idea.
Well, I can't always read things real well without my eyes getting blurry.
Then perhaps you don't need to. Perhaps you have the information you need to have already.
Well, what I was going to ask you about is that during that week, too, I was looking at a typed sheet of paper.
Yes.
And I can read it, but it makes my eyes tired.
All right.
And at one point, everything was, for about a second or two, crystal clear.
Yes.
And I was wondering if that, at that point, I jumped into fourth density belief and came back. Or what does that
You gave yourself an opportunity to experience the idea that you yourself as a being are clear on what you need to understand at any given moment. And that the idea of the limitation of your eyesight is something that you are choosing to do for a specific reason, and it simply shows you it is under your control.
Interesting.
And therefore, it is an indication to you that you are doing it for a reason. So it is not that they should be anything. They are what they are to serve your purpose.
I realize that. I have a theory that you go back and forth, or one goes back and forth a little bit up and then down towards fourth density and then back and up.
Well, there are some pendulum swings in a sense. It is the average idea that represents your acceleration and your momentum.
But can we go a little up and then back and then...
You are leveling out.
Right.
As soon as you begin to, in your terms, let us say, work through the idea of the polarity, then as you begin to blend the polarity, it will even out.
Okay.
And that will increase the acceleration.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Bashar?
You!
First, I want to thank you and tell you how much I appreciate this joyous occasion.
We always appreciate the joy of the experience of you all. Thank you.
I have two questions. my husband and I are raising our 8-year-old grandson, and he is a very special and exceptional being.
All right.
He has a strong anger that comes and seems to possess him or take him, which is why we have him. And I have never had much of this, so I'm wondering.
What does it give you an opportunity to look at within yourself about the idea of what you are describing to be anger?
What I have experienced is that I was raised that you didn't express anger or have anger.
All right.
And
What is anger?
Frustration.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Well, I've heard
Frustration is judgment.
Yes.
What is anger? Natural anger. The natural emotion, anger.
It feels like objection.
In a sense, yes.
I feel he wants to be what he is. He wants to be himself, and he feels.
The idea of anger that is naturally expressed in your civilization usually only lasts 10 to 15 of your seconds. Beyond that, it is judgment. The idea of anger is that when you see something that does not represent the idea you know yourself to be, your anger centers you where you know you are. What idea you are relative to what you are seeing. Not that you have to continue to judge what you are seeing as something less than what you know yourself to be. But the anger gives you the opportunity to simply see where you are relative to what you are seeing.
Yes. He goes immediately into judgment and action. And
all right. Then simply, you are being of assistance by allowing him a reflection of a being that can know he does not have to go, that can show him he does not have to go into judgment. That the anger in and of itself is perfectly natural and healthy. And teach him that it is simply his way of aligning himself to the idea. And that once he is aligned, the frustration is not necessary, because once you are aligned, that allows the reality to take care of itself. You do not need to continue with frustration on the assumption that now that you have the anger, you have to force the reality to go the way you think it needs to. That is why there is frustration.
Yes.
Again, it is an offshoot of the idea that in your society you do not believe that imagination and cognizance is just as real as physical reality, and that the having of a conception and the realization that your anger gives you is not the beginning of a process that you need to start creating to take steps to achieve something. It is the end of a process. You have gotten to the point of realization, and that means that at that moment you are that being, and that it is only necessary from that point to trust that if you are the being you have now realized yourself to be relative to what you see around you, then that is the type of reality you will begin to experience if you let yourself be the being you have realized you are.
Yeah.
Teach him that.
Right. All right.
How do you reflect that to a youngster? Sometimes they create the idea of not understanding those ideas.
Sometimes they do. Why not simply see if that is the case before pondering a what if?
What if one has already discovered that is the case when they get it?
All right. There are many forms of communication, and the idea first and foremost is that if you have agreed to have an interaction with that other entity, that other being you call the youngster, in that way, recognize that if you are willing to simply be the being you chose to be, and are being that being, then you are being the being they made the agreement to be with. That is all that is necessary.
Wonderful.
What they are doing is their choice. Let them do what they have chosen to do.
Very good.
All right?
Yes. On the other hand, in being oneself,
Right.
there is frequently a response to their frustration and judgment.
All right. What kind of a response?
It might be along the similar lines to theirs.
Why?
Not in terms of judgment so much as anger.
All right. All right. But after the first 15 seconds, then what?
Well, that's a good question, because your anger has not particularly created a change in their frustration.
Well, your anger cannot change them.
Right. Well, let's put it on a co-creational basis.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So?
the appearance is that there's been no growth or transformation on the other person's part.
Not possible. It is a new moment in time, is it not?
Yes.
Well then, it is not the same moment it was before, and therefore not the same moment of frustration.
But the goal here is not...
Goal?
Yeah, goal.
Why goal?
Well...
If you are making it a goal for that change, then perhaps that is where some of the frustration comes, when the goal is not achieved quickly enough, according to your expectation of how you think the change should occur to give you an indication that the goal is being achieved. You are setting up the terms of the experiment in this way and setting them up for failure, in a sense.
I understand what you're saying.
All right. Simply the idea is that if you are in the state of knowingness, that you are doing everything that you know you need to be doing to maintain your integrity, then every single moment that they choose to need to continue to feel frustration are all the moments they need to make their own realizations. They need to be frustrated then, according to their own understanding of themselves, for an hour, for a day, for a week, rather than for the split second that you might think would benefit them.
Okay, let me get very specific.
Oh, all right.
Let's say that their judgment and their resulting frustration create, I'll call it a disharmony, which you don't prefer.
But understand, if you are centered within yourself, you don't experience it as disharmony. You experience it as their learning process, which to you is a lovely thing. That's the whole point. Experiencing the idea as disharmony is your judgment of it. Not allowing yourself to know that you love them for the experience they have chosen to create for themselves.
Well, that seems to invalidate the concept of preference.
Why?
Well, because if you prefer one thing, because it is harmonious...
yes. But understand
if
again...
If you're judging anything as disharmonious,
yes,
then the idea of preference doesn't seem to...
Yes. If you prefer harmony, then you don't experience situations in your life, no matter what type of situation, as a disharmony. If you are experiencing it as disharmony, you are preferring disharmony. It is that simple.
I see what you're saying.
That is all there is to it, and it is literal.
I'm looking at the idea of consciously choosing, because we're still in the process.
Can be conscious. You do not have to say we are still in the process. You can know, if you really stop and think about it consciously for a moment, that you do make a conscious decision to be annoyed by something.
Oh yeah.
All right.
I'm not contesting that.
All right, then keep it conscious. You know it is a conscious preference to be annoyed.
Okay. But my point here is that...
Yes. The idea of unconditional love is that you don't care when it happens. For to you, it is never disharmony.
Okay.
It is always a pleasing sound. So you never notice, perhaps, even when it does change. Because it has always been pleasant for you.
Well... you experience it sometimes. Find out what it's like.
In my past, I have.
Okay.
Understand again, you are simply making an excuse and saying, well, if you were only to experience it, you would know it has more power than you do.
No,
Hogwash.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yes, it is what you are saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
It is what you are saying.
I'm saying that there is another way to look at this.
Of course, there are many ways to look at it. But that is a choice.
That would enable us to create consciously our harmonious preference.
I think you are missing the point. Your choice of attitude about any situation will determine how you experience it. And to an individual who is in harmony with themselves and with the understanding that what occurs in their life is a part of the overall harmony of creation, in that other individuals are choosing to learn in their own way, even if it includes the choice of experiencing frustration, that to a harmonious individual is just as sweet a sound as any note. That is the whole and complete and total point. how you choose to look at the situation and how much power you choose to give over to the choice of believing that the situation has to be experienced as disharmony.
Okay.
You follow me?
Yes.
It is all a choice, plain and simple, and it is quite conscious.
Okay, I was trying to relate that to the idea of activity.
Yes.
What one can do. Rather than just viewing it as a certain way, what can one do?
Well, if you were a harmonious being in that way, create harmonious ideas that may allow the other individual the opportunity to then choose to interact with you on that level. If they don't, you don't care, because you are already a harmonious being. And understand that the choice they make to interact harmoniously with you or not is their choice. And that, to you, the fact that they can make a choice, is the very stuff of harmony.
Of course. Well, if they don't, as you say, what do you do?
You keep doing what you need to do as the being you are.
All right.
And live your choices. Plain and simple. Again, if you are a harmonious being, you do not care that it takes time. You are enjoying every moment. So what do you care whether they choose to be harmonious today or 30 years from now? You are always having a good time.
Well, I always am.
All right. Then do not be concerned about someone else in that way, because that is taking responsibility for them rather than being responsible to them. Thank you.
I have one more question.
One moment. Yes.
I have been experiencing recently problems that seem like problems in the head, and yet they didn't seem like problems in the head. And I was told by another channel twice that he saw a swelling in the head and that I should have it checked.
Did you?
I had it checked. They checked 2 different ways,
And?
and they found nothing.
Yes.
And I have not felt disturbed.
All right.
About this,
Good.
But I thought I would just ask if you had any suggestions.
Simply in the way the idea of the swelling can come and go as a physiological representational idea to symbolically represent the idea of expansion of your consciousness.
That's what I felt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar?
You, then you.
Okay, well, Bashar, I have a few questions for you.
All right.
Thanks.
And for yourself.
The first thing is with the issue of anger.
Yes.
I have a particular situation to ask you about. I teach 5th grade, which is in our...
Yes.
Okay, I got 31 boys in this class.
One moment.
Yeah.
Listen to your reaction. Listen to your beliefs. I have 31 boys. Oh! And you sit there and wonder why you experience the reality that you do. My. Continue.
These boys have a very long school day, I believe a 9-hour day. The first 6 hours of which...
Thought you had 24 hours in a day.
Okay. They sit for the first 6...
I am making a point.
Okay.
Continue. We will talk about it later.
Okay.
Yes.
Hands on.
All right.
Okay. So they sit for about the first 5 hours studying Jewish religious studies.
Yes.
They have a short break, and then they have all of their
What is that?
quote-unquote English studies in a 3-hour time period.
Yes.
And
So much judgment attached to your educational facility.
And they don't seem to enjoy staying inside the room and sitting down. They choose to get out of their seats and move around during classes. Now, I come to class prepared to put across a few different lessons that are on the curriculum which I have accepted.
Yes.
Yes. I'm infusing the curriculum with more right brain activity, activity, which they enjoy.
All right.
However, I'm not able to keep up with the curriculum because there's so much activity in this classroom.
All right.
I spend a lot of time talking with them.
I will use your term that you are all very familiar with, and I will tell you I appreciate your dilemma. And at the same time, I am very excited that you are a part of the transformation of your educational system, for it is not going to stay that way much longer if you want it to. Understand, you are simply in the middle where you chose to be, of the transformation, the process of the change of your understanding of what education is all about, and simply do what you are doing, do the best you can.
Thank you very much.
The more you do, the more difference you will make. And the cleverer you are about it, the more your children will appreciate it.
Okay.
One moment.
I'd like to move on.
Then we are going over there.
Okay. I'd like to move on to the next thing. You talked about us becoming our government and being our government.
Yes.
Thank you. The first thing is the sharing. The second thing is information. The share rally last weekend to protest our government's giving aid to the Contras.
Suggest, not protest.
Protest. Thank you.
Suggest.
Okay, but many of the people that were at this rally are following the forms that are suggest, which used to be protests in the 60s.
Right.
Okay, it's the same format with a lot of...
I understand.
Okay.
Continue.
So now, my question to you is it possible and how to transform that angry energy...
Frustration.
The frustration that in a sense is a part of setting up an opposition to what already exists into a more supportive, peace-loving force.
Well, you are a teacher. Gather them together and teach the idea. See how many are willing to share it with you. And then form a group of individuals that are willing to do it that way.
Thanks. That's a great idea. Addresses of where to write, I have them tonight.
Oh, great.
And that's all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Guys.
Can I take it?
Oh, all right.
I have a couple questions.
No, all right.
The first is I'm working right now on a story about a situation that's been propagated supposedly between the Hopis and the Navajo, that there's a segment of land that the U.S. government wants to confiscate.
Yes.
I've been working with the Hopi elders, and they've been saying that in their prophecies, this piece of land is like a heart portion of our continent.
All right.
And that if it gets out of balance, and I do know the transformation is part of all this, but if it gets out of balance, it will cause havoc on the continent. Can you give me any information on one, if that piece of land is indeed a heart?
In a sense, yes, and especially obviously to them in their reality. And in this way, you can recognize that in a sense it is already out of balance, and that is why, as a nation, you experience so many of what you call heart attacks. But you may also remind the dear Hopi that they can take heart in the understanding that what they know about that idea is indestructible in its essence. Remind them. And in this way, allow them to know that things are proceeding, though they may be bumpy. They are proceeding. And there is the choice and the opportunity of the gathering together of the ideas and the sharing of the different cultures. It is proceeding, whether it seems to be or not, in that way. Remind them that they do not have to adopt the pessimism that is rampant in the civilization that they see to be the so-called cause of their dilemma. You follow me?
Right. Well, when I'd asked the Navajo elders, they said, this woman said, no, I don't think they were. I shook her and said, you don't mean that because it's horrible. Somebody needs to say no, and I don't. That's whatever it is.
All right. Allow me, again, to simply suggest that you look at her squarely in the eyes and say, I thought you were Navajo.
Yeah. They talked about, too, and I've never thought about this concept, but by the minute forcing them to go to regular school, they are losing their language.
All right, but again, at the same time, see what is happening to the regular schools. Yes. And in this way, you are blending to form one idea. It is taking time, but you can, if you are willing to rise above it, see the patterns and not feel like you are caught within it. If you can rise above it, transcend all the judgment, it is easy to see the patterns and where it is heading.
Well, when the Hopis had told me that they felt that they had preserved the old ideals of living because when as the sort of the physical destruction occurs on the planet, if that is the way it plays out, that they know how to live without as much material as the rest of the people, and that they feel that they can share this. So I feel it's really an integral part of the transformation.
All right. And again, allow them to know as well that there are different types of nature. And we are not saying that the idea of what has been created has not thrown the relationship of your civilization with nature out of balance in that way, but that simply, since you are a natural being, anything you create, in a sense, is natural. And that it is their opportunity as well to recognize that through this transformation, the blending that is going to occur within all the civilizations upon your planet is not going to wind up exactly being the way they used to be, but the way you will all be together in a slightly different variation of the way they used to be. Otherwise, it would not be a change forward.
Okay, I have a couple more.
All right.
I have a question. Recently, I did some work on a concert that you were involved in, and I worked for 5 to 6 months with a group of people, and during that concert, some things happened. A real separation occurred between me and, in particular, one of the women spoken to each other since, and I do realize part of that separation has been for my own inner process. I needed to come in for the last few weeks. But I'm wondering what, I know I can't really do anything to change another person's attitude except for offer unconditional love, but it feels so strange to have been so close to someone.
But you are still close, but simply a different definition of the relationship. You are obviously still very strongly tied together, even if it is through alienation.
Is there a way to change that alienation?
Talk.
I've tried.
Do your best. That is all you are required to do. If you are satisfied that you have done your best, do not take responsibility for their choice.
Okay, and speaking of that, there, some other members and I were talking about the Orion and everything, and how I worked and do some quote-unquote promotion work to get you out there, and I didn't need to. I mean, I did it out of love thing.
All right.
But there's a group of people here and a group of people there, and certain people over there are making videos and tapes, and people over here, and it seems like it seems in a way that there's a split, and there's not a blending, because all these people, in fact, it has become competitive in a sense.
Understand, the idea does not have to be what you call competitive simply because there are many expressions of it. The idea is that there is unity through infinite diversity.
No, I don't feel the competition, but that's...
You can also trust something else.
Yes.
Again, if you are willing to rise above it, you can, as we do, see the overall patterns and the reasons for why they are all interacting in that way, and it all fits in. Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried.
All right.
It's interesting.
Yes, it is.
Can you tell me where Tara Hay is? I spoke with you.
At this time, I cannot. Perhaps another individual can. For there may be connections that you need to form through another individual.
In this room?
We'll leave that up to you to find out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And to you. You! Then you.
Me?
That.
I would like to know, I mean, I've learned a lot and you've answered so much already, but...
Me? No, you.
Yes, me and the realizations to set in and the wisdom. I would like to know if you have any suggestions to me as far as where and if I will find, like, my home. And I don't know if you have, if you can read me without me speaking it. I don't know that, but...
Why are you making this so complex?
I know, it's like, do you know what's going on with me? I have no idea.
Do you?
Yeah, sometimes. And,
all right.
But it's like, am I going to get the things I want? I understand.
I don't know.
You don't know.
Are you?
I hope so.
Why?
Why?
Why do you hope so?
Instead of knowing?
Instead of knowing that whatever you get will be exactly the thing you need. And not one extra thing.
Yeah, this is true. I always take it from there and say, and limit it and say, structure, this is the way it should be in my mind.
All right.
And I understand that I should be...
Are you having a good time doing that?
I guess I am, or I would not be doing it.
Oh, thank you very much.
I understand that.
Thank you.
You cannot tell me then. Or if you have any suggestions, like...
Nope.
Direction of going?
Nope. Direction of going? Inward.
Well, this is true. But as far as like home, like inward.
Yes, that is where your home is.
Yeah, I think that's true. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar?
You, then you.
Bashar, I've had a pattern which I'd like to look
Oh, patterns again. The idea that you put stock into the belief of habit, into the belief of pattern, that creates pattern.
Yep, that's what I did already.
All right. However, you are not doing it now.
Right. Okay. Then let's look at an idea.
All right.
I'm looking at this on a time stream. I used to have the concept that...
Are you going to be clever about this?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can sneak the idea of patterns in from another direction. You also said you were not believing in them now.
I lied.
Oh. No, you did not. The you that said you did not believe in them didn't. The you are now does.
Right.
It is not the same you, so there was no lie.
Right.
When you realize that there was no lie, you will have your answer. When you realize there was no lie, you will have your answer.
I got that.
Thank you.
Now I want to address the idea.
All right.
I want to address it.
Proceed.
I have had 6 cameras stolen out of my car tonight.
Yes.
The third time I had it, so I prided myself on never having my car broken into.
Why? Why is that something to pride yourself on?
Because it was an idea of creating a safe space.
Who says it is not still safe?
Me.
Oh, all right, your choice. Continue.
Right. On the third time I did it, I wrote a book called I Want to Kill the Guy Who Broke Into My Car.
All right. Probably judged as a bestseller. Critical acclaim.
In the book, I played an idea of wanting to love despite all reasons one should not, against the impulse to kill this son of a bitch. And I found when that was stolen tonight, I wanted to know who it was. I wanted to get a hold of him.
My. You certainly are giving yourself opportunity after opportunity to learn that you do not have to judge.
That's true.
And it is the judgment in and of itself that you are willing to maintain that allows you to keep experiencing the same situation.
But
But what?
You're doing a great collection of that.
Understand that because you have prided yourself on the idea that you have created a safe bubble into which no one can intrude, you yourself have made it wide open. Because you are segregating it and calling attention. Look, everybody, look at this nice, safe space. It's a secret, don't tell anyone. Come over here and look at this safe space. Look what's inside. Boy, oh boy, is it safe. Don't forget to put that on the news tonight. Are you catching my point?
Yeah, I caught it from the beginning.
No, all right. Then in this way, when you understand you cannot be a victim except by your choice to look at it that way, then you will continue to create spaces which can be violated. When all space is your space, no violation of it can occur from outside. When you fill all of your space, when there are not bubbles within it, when you don't have the need for the security, you will not create a violatable space. You follow me?
To a degree.
All right. When you take, let us say, a vast ocean of water, and you decide that within that ocean of water you will build a bubble that keeps the water out, then understand the amount of pressure pushing in on that thin and fragile shell. And that if there is even one tiny break, the entire thing will collapse.
Good. I understand that concept thoroughly.
All right.
That was not the concept that was created. I created love and caring and the idea.
Obviously, the idea simply is that you are exploring in love the idea of victimhood. And in this way, simply the idea is that you are willing to look at it not as a violation, but something that is providing you with a reflection of what you want to discover about yourself and the habits that you create yourself to have, then you will let it serve you and it will not be a violation. Many of you miss the point when you say, well, I am creating this situation out of love. I am surrounding this idea with love so no one will violate it, but you are contradicting yourself. When you believe something needs a defense, you are building and designing the assault. You cannot separate the two. It is the polarity. One side of the coin always brings the other side. And in the belief in need of protection, you bring automatically with it the attack. You cannot have an isolated bubble in that way.
That was the concept I was teaching.
Well, many times individuals teach so they can hear themselves, so they can learn what they are saying.
Yeah. Of course.
All right, then live what you teach. And understand that if you are teaching that idea and along comes a situation that has the power to make you think that something different is going on other than what you were teaching, then you're not listening to what you're saying. And it is a lesson for you to understand that if you truly wish to teach something, you had better believe it. Therefore, it is an opportunity to integrate and give you the opportunity to believe what you are teaching. So it has served you.
Okay. I still have an impulse to punch you in the mouth.
Oh, all right. But that is the picture you are making.
I know. And this is not my nature. It has not been.
You do not have a nature.
Oh, baloney. I have a nature. This is a, the state.
What is your nature?
Loving, caring.
Your nature is existence itself. Everything else is your design upon your basic fundamental nature, which is only that you exist. That is your nature.
Good. Now I understand the communication. Yeah. Okay. Duplicate.
See, your willingness To take what I said to you as an attack shows how willing you are to believe in that type of a reality. That I would say something to you that would accost you, knowing the love that we have shared, is an indication to you that you are more willing to accept the reality of an attack than of simply understanding you don't need a defense. Thank you very much for allowing a loving reflection.
Pleasure. Thank you, Bashar.
You are very welcome, indeed, always, forever. You.
Me?
You.
Well, I'll do it. Talk about anger again. I was thinking, I've gotten myself into situations to where I've not expressed it then.
Yes.
Now, after that has happened,
Yes.
do I really need to, is it judgment if I think that I should have expressed it? Or
In a sense, yes. And at the same time, you can simply know that having expressed it in a loving way, simply standing up for the idea you happen to be, would not have created the need for the opportunity to allow frustration and judgment to set in to get to the point where you start judging yourself for what you should or should not have done. Now, if you find that you have simply had anger, had centering, found that you needed to express it and didn't, all right. So you get to a later point. Don't judge yourself for having not done it, otherwise you are only compounding the situation.
In that way, it's not like I need to.
Simply understand that if you are willing to, from that point forward, express it. Understand that.
That just means that I need to. That doesn't mean I have a buildup of anger inside.
No.
Yeah, right. Okay. Because what?
Unless, of course, you believe in that idea.
Unless I believe. Yeah, from a lot of different schools of thought, we're kind of taught that we have this buildup of anger if you didn't express it then. Say if I chose not to express it last week about this situation, and I didn't think it was appropriate to express my anger, that I would have this buildup of energy that I have to...
All right. Now look, if you are dealing with that belief system, then use your imagination. And if you feel you have a buildup, then say, all right, I will set aside 30 seconds tomorrow, and I will set aside all that time, 30 seconds, to allow all that built-up anger to, go through me. All right? And then you will stand in your home, you will face a wall, face a picture, face a flower, face an animal, face a crystal, face whatever. And you will simply express that anger for 30 seconds and then know, all right, it's all gone. Now, that is just a symbol, but if that is what works for you in allowing you to know that all the so-called built-up anger is gone, then do it. All right?
Yes, because basically, a lot of situations I can see to where I contributed to making that happen, where I would be angry, have confrontation with someone else. And so if I just take the judgment away and speak, I will be more certain and express the way I feel in the future.
Understand that if you are willing to actually do that in and of the moment, it will not be a confrontation. It will be simply a statement of your perspective, given in a loving way, and there will be no need for arguing and shouting and all of that. You will simply make a statement. It doesn't have to be a confrontation. You follow me?
Yeah.
Stating who and what you are is simply a statement of who and what you are. There is nothing to confront. Because you are not trying to say that whoever you are having the discussion with is worse or better than you. It is not a contest. You are simply stating who you are. They are stating who they are. Whatever you find within those two statements that you can form as an interaction that works, do it. What doesn't work, don't use it. Where's the confrontation? All right? Thank you. Good!
Within that 10 or 15 seconds that natural anger occurs,
Yes.
are you speaking of an internal experience, or are you talking about
Usually, yes.
perhaps a verbal explosion?
No, not an explosion, an internal experience. That rush of, wait a minute, what is this? Where do I stand relative to this idea? Okay, now I know.
Well, that's what I've always interpreted what you're saying as being. But there is...
The verbal explosion comes from judgment.
What if you're able to get that verbal explosion out in the first 10 seconds? I mean,
it is not so much that we are saying that whatever occurs in the first 10 to 15 seconds is only anger.
That was my joke for my colleagues.
Oh. Thank you. Not one moment. Are you through?
Well, not actually. I'm trying to...
What?
I am in the creating process of understanding where the explosion, the verbal explosion, comes in.
But judgment. Why do you feel that in this way? Now, I am not accusing you, just I am using the vernacular you. The idea, simply that if you know you are a certain idea, and you know that it does not matter what someone else believes, then there is no cause for attempting to force your point of view forcefully on someone else by some verbal explosion. It just doesn't compute.
Well, it's not a thought process where you go, I think I'm going to explode.
But it is a belief. It is a belief. It is an indication. It is a barometer of a belief.
At the moment in time that it occurs, it's a feeling.
Yes, of course. But then the idea is that once it has happened, you can use it as a barometer to show you that you have within you a certain belief that you need to do that to communicate.
Okay.
Then you work with that idea.
So let's talk about that belief.
What about it? I have just been talking about it. The idea that you think you need to bowl someone over in order to convince them of the rightness of your position. Rather than simply knowing that your position is your position, their position is their position, and you are never going to be able to force them to change their mind anyway, and you do not have to shout at them because you need to defend your position. So it is the idea of containing within you the belief of helplessness. Again, another variation of victimhood. And trying to stand up, to struggle, to fight for your rights when you don't have to. Because who you are is right enough in that sense. Just being who you are, you do not have to convince anyone else, and you do not have to convince yourself that who you are is exactly who you need to be. That is the only reason shouting occurs. Because you feel you have to convince somebody of something, and it is actually usually yourself.
Okay, well, it sounds like within what you've been saying here is all of that belief which creates, out of which we create that emotional response to these exploding.
Yes, and therefore once you have exploded, it allows you the opportunity to say, well, why do I explode? I have a belief within myself I need to explode. Why? And then you can begin to explore that the reason perhaps may simply be that you explode to create such a loud ruckus to cover and gloss over the knowledge that perhaps you don't believe what you're saying either.
I personally have, in the past, experienced a lot of that, and in the last, half dozen years or so, have gotten to the point where I do not explode in that way.
Yes.
The great majority of the time.
Yes.
I still do it once in a while because I still contain it.
Yes.
But in transforming to a position where I express myself in a more harmonious, calm way,
yes,
I had not looked specifically at those beliefs, and so what I'm doing here is understanding why other people do that and why I do it myself in those small occasions that I do, so that I can understand their...
Well, all right. Well, there may be many specific reasons within the overall reason.
Right. Of course, but they all fall within the umbrella of...
Basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bashar?
Okay.
Okay. First of all, I have a title for tonight.
All right.
Equality.
That's your job.
Equality.
Equality. All right.
Okay. Now, I have two things. One thing is, now, the idea of we can be in one reality at any time and then switch to another reality. And now, for instance, if someone says someone says to me, I'm going to do something, and I say, fine, that
Okay.
I'm going to call you, say.
Are you going to talk about integrity?
I guess so. Now if if the phone call isn't made,
Yes.
like the person said, does that mean that, well, ultimately it's my creation, okay, and however, does that mean that I moved into a reality where that person never made that agreement? For instance...
Not necessarily. The idea can simply be the exploration of the maintenance of integrity, to be true to oneself in that way. And perhaps the individual is simply not being true to themselves in the fundamental sense of your interaction. Perhaps they are reacting instead of acting.
Okay, my creation of that would be for my own, to look at that in whatever way I needed to look at that.
Well, perhaps. And again, understand that many times individuals will allow another individual to go through their scenario. Not that it specifically says that there is something within you that is doing the same thing, but that you, because you are who you are willing to allow them the opportunity to look at that within themselves.
Okay.
You do not have to sit and wonder and say, well, they didn't call, what's wrong with me? Why did I create that? I must be a miserable creator to have created that. When all along, you are simply being of service to allow them to look at a few things within themselves.
Okay, all right.
You will know.
Okay, now
when you are within your own integrity, you will know. And when you are being responsible to people and not for them, you will know.
Okay, now what if someone says, I don't remember saying that. I don't remember saying that I would do that.
All right.
Now,
again, in the overall sense, it does not matter. If that is what is being played out, is their opportunity to create for themselves another type of reality in which that does not exist for themselves consciously, then simply if it is in your reality that they did say it, simply accept it as such and use it in whatever way you wish to.
I guess, I'm just wondering if we can switch to different realities in such
yes,
a way
it can be done, yes.
It's like, you go... Say,
however, you will find that while that is possible to occur, the more blended you all become, it's not that it will happen without the integrity as well.
Okay. All right. Wait. No, one more thing. The family that I think they were called Braun family or something last week that disappeared for a few days in Arizona.
Comment.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Hey. John's scenario brought up an idea that do we have power, even if someone's sick and you're among friends and you do something like we call a healing circle, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Are we giving power to this person's sickness that we are putting into the healing circle?
Well, now, this balances a fine line of definition. In a sense, yes. In a sense, no. The idea, first and foremost, is that you are giving power to the idea that they do not have to be sick. And at the same time, you are acknowledging that they have created a sickness, which in a sense reinforces the reality for them. But that is all right. Do not short-circuit yourself over that dichotomy. The idea simply is that you are willing to know you are sharing a reality with them in which they have created a disease, and at the same time you are willing to reflect to them that they do not have to create the disease, and that for now, because this is the transformational time in which you can experience many different juxtapositions in that way, it is all right to experience this and that, and it does not have to be this or that. All right?
Bashar.
One moment. You may all take a short break. All right, I'll say, sharing. You.
I've had a tremendous amount of tension in my body this last week, and it's because I've got so much energy.
All right. No need to translate excitement into anxiety. Allow it to flow. It is the same energy. Excitement, anxiety, same energy. Allow it to flow. Again, the idea, if I may use the term remedy, for all of those types of so-called blocks and manifestations of your accelerated energy is to do something with it. You follow me? And if you find that it is building up in a certain area, then do something that allows you to utilize that area, if you can, find the function specifically in that way.
Like talking?
Yes.
Okay.
Sharing in that sense. The willingness to express the idea that you are is the first step into putting it into action. You follow me?
Yeah.
Then follow through, and the energy will flow through. And you will acclimate to the rate of the vibration of the energy, and it will not be overwhelming.
Okay.
All right.
Well, how can I get to sleep at night?
Right? Sleep when you are tired. When you are not tired, do not sleep, no matter what hour it is.
Okay.
All
Get
right?
up and write letters.
If you wish. It is up to you. Or do whatever your imagination tells you is something you can do. All right?
Yep.
Have fun.
Bashar?
You.
Looking at the idea of engineering a more unified...
It is up to you. It does not have to happen all the time.
Do you perceive that as something that would be effective?
It will be effective for those that will make it effective. It is a tool like anything else. You do not have to ask me if it will be effective. If it is effective for you, then this is a perfect example of what we are talking about. At the beginning of your session, if you simply feel like doing that, do it. Those that feel like doing it with you will do it with you. Those that don't, won't.
Another question.
Yes.
Statement.
Yes.
I have begun to create a book or a pamphlet.
All right.
And I think right now it's fun to
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
creative.
And very fun.
No, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar.
You.
Bashar, could you explore the concept of original thinking? Is there any original thinking?
Yes. Every moment.
Absolutely original thought that no one has ever conceived of before?
Not the way you are conceiving it now. Through the you that you happen to be. There may be some similarities. There may always be similarities in that way. But as you are thinking it now, that has never been done before.
Well, let's equate every original, say, I have a thought now.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
now.
Yes.
What I'm asking you is that...
I know what you are asking.
Yes,
But you are, in a sense, not seeing the contradiction in what you are saying. We are saying that literally, as you have a thought now, and as you have a thought now, even if they seem to be the same thought, they are not. Because the nowness, the difference of the now, makes all the difference and can create a different effect.
Okay. I wasn't trying to say that I ever had an original...
You do have original thoughts. That is the idea. That is what we are saying.
Well, what I'm asking you then is there any being or entity that... I imagine the body of knowledge is ever unfolding. Where is...
Understand the paradox. That everything already exists, and yet whatever you create is forever anew.
Everything exists. Nothing...
The idea of creating something to be brand new is only the idea of taking what exists and expressing it in a way that has never been expressed before. You follow me?
Yes. Okay.
That makes it a new creation.
Yes.
And yet, it comes from that which has always existed.
Okay.
I understand there is dichotomy and paradox in expressing this in your language, but that is the way it is.
I have one more question.
Okay. Although that was one right there.
That's it.
As we understand matter, it's composed of protons, neutrons, electrons, and these are subsequently made up of little quarks.
Well, not the electrons.
No, just protons and neutrons.
Right.
I've been reading a lot about transmutation of the elements. And they conceive of the flipping of these quarks into different alignments, different... how is that? I know it can be done. We're trying to...
May I point something out? Sure. It may be of interest to some of you. I am doing nothing with my hands. I am not doing anything with Darrell's hands. Understand that the idea itself, as it pulses through my consciousness, is allowing there to be a symbolic interpretation of what I am considering or sharing with you. in a way that will allow some individuals to gain the concept on other levels. Continue.
Well, what I'm asking, we were just beginning to understand. We're just beginning to understand what we call gravity wave engineering. And by using the same tools that we do gravity wave engineering, we can learn how to lift quarks and thereby change protons into neutrons, creating a new element or a new isotope from an old.
All right. Redefining the equation.
Okay, well, yeah, like the alchemists tried to do. Now, there have been some successful experiments on the Earth where they have actually done that. Silver into gold, for instance. Where are there, what I'm trying to get to, are there, will this lead us down paths that we should be going?
How can you ask such a question?
Well, it's what I'm trying to
You are looking for the one way, that is, the best way, and there is no such thing.
It's reachable by a variety of avenues.
The truth is composed of all truths. The collective way you are doing it, the average of all the ways you are doing it in your society is the way you need to do it.
What I was getting at, are we upsetting any balance by so to speak, playing dice with matter or playing dice with just by...
It depends on how you mean that, in terms of what you think will become, so to speak, unbalanced, and what you define as the original balance.
As you perceive it?
No.
Okay. Are the experiments that we're in the right direction? In other words, they had very minimal success. Yeah.
Minimal success.
Is that such a... No, maybe I'm not very clear with what I'm trying to say.
I understand. But the level of success, so to speak, that they had is what has served them and may indicate, all right, to use your terminology, that where you are heading is not exactly where you may have thought you were heading. To indicate that maybe some areas are, so to speak, dead ends, but not really, but you understand. So that you can guide yourselves where you have chosen to be, as you make your choices, to define the path you want to be.
Very much the answer I expected. I'm beginning to answer my questions before I ask them.
Yes. We do not mean to be nebulous.
Sure.
But in this way, you are discussing things that are a matter of instantaneous choice and only reinforce themselves as such. They are not descriptions of any reality that exists apart from you. Like you are trying to discover one particular true reality rather than the ones you think you are living. Is such a thing, but only as you create it. So, because you are creating it, there really isn't such a thing. You follow me?
Sure do.
And so that is the reason for why such interactions will or may seem to be nebulous.
Okay. One more question, if you don't mind. That's not a question, but... you are familiar with the Mobius strip?
Yes.
Okay. For those who aren't, it's a three-dimensional, say, piece of paper. You take a half twist, put it back together, and the Mobius strip now only has one side and one edge. Are there three-dimensional analogs?
Do it, you will see.
Four-dimensional analogs to it?
Yes, you already know you have a third-dimensional analog that is referred to as a Klein form. Yes.
How about a fourth-dimensional? What's significant?
In a sense, to fourth-dimensional perspective, the entire third-dimensional idea is similar, or vice versa. It is as if a principle that you can demonstrate in a model in 3 dimensions actually could be utilized to form a foundation of an entire dimension.
Is this making any sense?
It sounds to me like it would help us understand the relationship between 3 dimensions and 4 dimensions if we could establish that.
What you are defining as the Mobius strip and the Klein bottle or form in that way are models or representations of a principle upon which the idea of the relationship between third and fourth density are based. The idea that the inside and the outside are the same thing, that the physical reality you perceive to be so solid, so separated, is actually all a part of the same surface, so to speak, and that in fourth density perspective you see through the illusion. In other words, if you have a Mobius strip, then you have creatures that exist only upon the surface, and you have this half-twist. Well, to the creatures that exist upon it, it seems to be a never-ending reality. They do not understand, like you do, that it is the half-twist that creates the seeming eternalness of their situation. Whereas knowing, as you are viewing it from above, that it took the half-twist, then in fourth dimensional perspective you can undo the twist and see where the illusion was created.
Oh, that's how. Oh, I see. That's how you look at us.
Oh, yes, in a sense.
Yes. Oh, that's neat. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You have said a number of times that a moth represents knowledge.
In a generally held concept within your civilization.
Well, is it meaningful to ask where that symbolism comes from and why?
Out of your collective mass unconsciousness.
I have difficulty sometimes with symbolism of that type.
Well, that is all right. It is not like you have to know what those symbols mean consciously.
No, but it's interesting. But I just, why would the collective, the mass consciousness, choose a moth? Is there any reason for
it? It is not that they chose the moth. It is that they have an idea and it represents itself in your terms on that level by the projection of the animal form consciousness you call a moth. You are putting, in your terms, the cart before the horse.
Is there a symbolism for spiders and snakes of the same type?
Yes.
Could you tell me what they are?
The idea of snake in general, there can be specifics with type of snake in that way, but in general is connected to the idea of ancient wisdom in the same way that the ancient symbol of dragon is connected in that sense. Spider will be a subconscious idea, let us say accessibility of information that you feel is inaccessible to you. The idea also of the tying together of the connections to everything in what you represent to be a web, being at the center of it, and all the connections in that way. You follow me?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. You.
I want to ask you about Howard Scott.
Who?
Howard Scott.
Who?
He has been dead now for about 10 years, but he originated on this planet a plan called technocracy. Many parts of this plan sound similar to your society, like no money, people traveling around in order to get education, everyone contributing according to their ability, there being in abundance, and so forth and so forth. Did this being come here to put forth some portion of this plan to lay a bit of a foundation to help us with a concept, to help us move into fourth density?
Put a period at the end of that and you will have the statement, rather than a question mark.
Oh, okay.
Let the physical reality be an obvious reflection of what you are perceiving it to be. If it is so obvious, why make it a question? If you can see how something fits into what you are now beginning to perceive as a pattern, why not trust that it is a part of that pattern instead of asking if it possibly could be or not?
All right.
You follow me? Then you will be expressing the willingness to know that seeing the pattern in that way and seeing how those things fit into the pattern is a representation of the reality you believe you want to experience. And then you will experience it as such. You follow me? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes.
Yes, but.
From myself.
So, that is all that counts. Not in the sense that you ignore everyone else. But in the sense that if you are living that reality, then you act as a reflection to other individuals so that if they like what they see in you, they can choose to live that reality too. That is how you are being of service to them.
Okay.
By having the conviction to know that if you perceive those things, that is the reality you want. Live like it. Live as if you understand the patterns you are seeing.
All right.
Sounds tentative.
Well, I think I wondered whether maybe the dissemination of some of this information might help some of the rest of the people get more ideas about how we might live as we move into fourth density.
Then stop wondering and do it. By you acting as someone who has conceived of the idea that that information can be disseminated, and by disseminating it, you will become the active principle of that dissemination and cause that reality. What are you waiting for?
Well,
for someone else to do it?
No. Actually, my husband put 20 years of his life into getting this information out, and I agree. And it
what?
No matter what form it went out in, it seemed as though it was so far beyond the reality of people that there were almost no people that were interested in participating in it or understanding or learning about it. And
how many people are around you right now?
Oh, about 50 or 60.
How many groups like this exist on your planet at this time?
Oh, probably hundreds.
And you think that that does not make a difference? And you think that the information you have been sharing has not found its way to some of those individuals and made the difference? Have even the idea in the reality, and whether or not it disseminates in exactly the way you think it should, along the exact lines you perceive the dissemination to be taking place, recognize it is still leaking in. And that the existence of all of these individuals is a reflection of your willingness to put that information out there. Whether they perceive the literal information or not does not matter. The effect is the same. Living the lifestyle has caused your radiation of that existence to leak into the society to provide an opportunity for individuals to realize and come to understand that type of information on their own, from their own direction, whether it had anything at all to do or not with the specific information you were disseminating. It is all connected. This brings me to a point I did wish to discuss with you tonight, so how psychic of you. Allow me to say it is the idea that everything you do is connected to everything else. Whether or not it proceeds along the paths or lines you consciously, physically expect it should or not. The sheer doing of the idea is what makes the difference, not the specifics of the information connected to the doing. It is the essence of the doing. That is what individuals feel and act upon within themselves. You have no idea how many individuals who never even met you were sparked just by unconsciously knowing that you were doing what you were doing, whether they ever met you or not. But they felt that something was moving, that there was an opportunity alive in the world, and they acted on their own, upon their own path, in their own way, at their own discretion, in their own good timing, with their own information. That is still connected to your willingness to have put out what you have been putting out, whether they have heard a word of it literally or not. The action you are doing is what makes the difference. That is why we are stressing the action. Because that is what radiates beyond the level of the individuals you physically reach. You follow me?
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Bashar.
Yes.
Symbolism.
Yes.
When a thought, or when a symbol is gotten.
Yes.
Oh, okay, let me see.
Well, all right.
When a symbol is before one.
Yes.
Okay. and he does not get it.
Yes.
In the time in which it is sparked.
Yes.
Has that understanding passed him?
No. Obviously not. It is always there for you to recreate in any way, shape, and form that you wish to, and you can simply know that if you know it represents something, you do not have to rack your brain about what. Just get on with your life, knowing that whatever it represents, if you need to know it, it will filter in. Maybe later you will be doing something, and all of a sudden it will remind you of that idea, and you will see how the two are connected, making an association that serves you even further than simply having recognized what it was at the time.
But no more symbols will continue in that light, in that vein, to give you what's...
They can. Simply what we are saying is that they don't have to continue to be negative manifestations. If you allow yourself to know that in its own good time, you will understand what any symbol is created by you for.
Okay, well, I had no reference to negative.
All right.
Okay, that's good enough, thanks.
Thank you.
Bashar?
You.
This brings me to a question that I came here to ask tonight. I was here 2 weeks ago, and when I got here, I got overwhelmingly tired.
Yes.
And I fell asleep in the hallway.
Yes.
And while I was asleep, I was listening to the channeling.
Yes.
And then when I woke up, I couldn't remember it.
Yes.
And I thought, well, I'm really wiped out. I better go home. So I went home, and I couldn't go to sleep. And I was laying in bed, and I thought, well, I wish I could remember the channeling. And suddenly I saw this huge crystal cluster, and it had greens and blues and purples, and the colors were moving in a pattern, in very slow and sweeping motion. And I thought, and I saw the crystal, and I thought, oh, that's my crystal. And I thought, no, that's not my crystal. That was the consciousness of the channeling. And I wasn't, I'm wondering, was that a perception of the actual consciousness of the channeling that night, or was that a symbol of that?
Always in your physical reality, you will create a symbol to represent it by, for nothing really has a shape. You follow me?
Yeah.
Unless you give it one. But you were perceiving the actual energy of the consciousness, of the interaction, and you have also given a description in symbolic terms of what you have asked us many times. How do we see you?
Is that how you see
Yes.
It was really wonderful.
We see you as the interaction of all the ideas that you are.
It was the most, I felt better about that channeling I felt like I knew more about it, but I didn't know the words.
That is perfect.
Good. The next question I have is that then I was over here at Steve's on Saturday night, and he was channeling, and when he started channeling, I did the same thing.
Yes.
I started passing out.
Yes. It is not uncommon. Many individuals, when they allow themselves to begin to feel their own energy as they allow it to come out in the interaction with us or other consciousnesses or within themselves, will simply know that in a sense they have a belief within themselves that it is overwhelming, so they go to a place where it is safe to absorb.
Well, let me tell you what happened after the channeling on Saturday night.
All right.
After the channeling on Saturday night, I became totally aware of this energy that I'm generating, and that I can direct it.
Yes.
And it's like a golden, and it's a gold energy, and it's a blue-white energy.
Yes.
And it's the first time that I could in my life. I've always known I should be able to do it, but I can actually put it places and direct it.
Yes.
And I became aware of that during that channeling while I was asleep.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much for waking up.
Bashar.
Are you through?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bashar. Yes. I would like to get more understanding on an experience, I guess, of my own creation that I don't quite understand.
All right. Share.
The creation.
And you will have understanding.
I've been experiencing a feeling of like I keep getting to dead ends, or I don't know what I want to do,
Yes.
and a lot of disappointed expectations.
All right. Very good. Now, first of all, briefly, we have discussed the idea of what a block is. A block is not a dead end. A block is an unexpected direction. That is all. And when you view the unexpected direction, the signpost that says go left, go right, When you do not allow yourself to move within the unexpected direction, but put a judgment upon it, and the signpost does not look like a signpost, it looks like a wall. And you don't think you can move because you think you should go straight ahead through where the wall is preventing you. But understand, the wall is there, the sign is there to tell you that now is the time to move left, to move right, and that by doing so, by moving left, by moving right, you will be following the flow, and that, moving left, moving right, is the way to actually go straight ahead. Only when you judge the sign, when you judge that it is telling you to go in an unexpected direction, and you judge that unexpected direction, does the sign become a wall that you stand in front of and beat your head against. And that is when it looks like a block. A block is a signpost, not a dead end. It says, turn here. You follow me?
Yeah.
It only becomes a block when you judge the unexpected direction it tells you to move in as something that is an interruption in your path and not a part of it.
It's true, I did have certain expectations of
Yes.
what I thought should happen, and
Yes.
it turned out quite differently.
As we have said, allow the physical reality that does happen to be an obvious reflection of what you chose to do, of the path you chose to be. Follow it. Trust it. This is why we say trust is all there is.
Yeah. Right now I'm sort of making this, it seems like I have a choice to, I've been making myself do something I really didn't want to do, which doesn't seem like the best growth potential.
Oh, it is a very good growth potential.
How so?
By allowing you to know you don't prefer it.
Yeah? Okay.
All right, then do what you prefer.
But I don't know what I prefer.
Nothing at all. How did you decide to come here tonight?
I enjoy this communication.
Then that is how you know what you prefer. You enjoy it.
Well,
Do it.
why do there seem to be so many clouds and...
Because of judgment.
Well, how do you start to change that?
By simply, as we have said, trusting that what occurs in your life is a part of the process and not trying to get rid of it. Not trying to change it. Accepting it as a part of the path. Accepting it as the next step. Not as a misstep. And as soon as you start accepting that you are making the choice to have that experience, it will transform into the next step on the path, clearly. And your path will become more clairvoyant. You follow me? Not quite. Where are you going after you leave here tonight? Why?
Good question. This is where...
Do you have a good answer? Do you have a good answer?
No, it's just sort of a predictable pattern.
Predictable pattern? Nonsense. May I give you a hint?
Sure.
Repeat after me. I am going home.
I'm going home.
Because I want to. Speak up.
That's the problem I'm having. I feel like I'm doing a lot of things, not necessarily because I want to.
All right. Do you want to go home?
Doesn't look like it.
Yes or no?
I guess at some point, yes.
Never mind at some point. Right now, do you want to go home?
No.
All right. That was easy, wasn't it? When you want to go home, go home. When you don't. Go where you want to. All right?
Yes, it just seems easier said than done.
Your belief, your choice.
Area.
You are making those decisions to make those areas different than any other area. It is all the same. Don't try so hard. You are giving yourself a block by trying so hard to understand. Relax. Enjoy yourself. Lighten up on yourself. Stop pushing yourself so hard. Life is meant to be lived, to be enjoyed, not to be suffered. You do not have to make decisions. If you are flowing, the decision, the path, the direction will be obvious. You do not have to make it a dichotomy. Oh, this or that, this or that, this or that, what do I do? It is this and that, this and that. They are all equal. Do anything you want. It will all get you to the same place. It doesn't matter which way you go. That is the point. Stop making one path have to be more important to take than another. And then all paths will look equally good. And then it won't matter which one you take because you know they all lead to the same place. You follow me? It is only by making the differentiation that there must be some path that is better than the one I am on that is giving you the problem. Do whatever you want. Function within your integrity and do what you want. Knowing that you are as powerful as you need to be to have and go wherever you wish without needing to interfere, in a sense, force anything upon anyone else to get there. You are completely self-empowered. Go where you will. And when you change your mind, go there. All right? Does that make some sense to you? Yeah? All right, let me ask it this way. If you were to go where you wanted to go at any given moment, are you afraid something will happen that you won't like?
I'm afraid I won't be able to pay the rent, that's all.
Pay the rent. Understand nothing that you consider to be valid is silly. Recognize in this way, however, that you are giving the strength to that scenario. Now, understand, again, that if you are willing to be an idea, all the ingredients are there automatically to allow you to continue to be that idea. If money is necessary to continue to be that idea, it will be there in the form of providing you automatically an opportunity that you can take to get yourself the money. But it will be an obvious opportunity. That is what we are saying. You do not have to force yourself to put yourself in a position where you have to make a decision. It will be an obvious opportunity. You will say, oh, well, there's the perfect opportunity. I will act on it, and I will have the money. If the money is not there, allow that to be an obvious reflection that you don't need it to be the idea you want to be. Perhaps, you do not know, perhaps someone will simply come up and say, this idea you want to be, well, it is something that has been very important to me for very long, and I would like to support you in your endeavor. I'll take care of all your rent, don't worry about that. How do you know that can't happen? Well, you don't, do you? Speak up.
Right.
All right. Be bold. Now, if you know, if it is even remotely feasible to you that something could come into your life that you don't expect, that could provide what you need exactly when you need it, then just simply create the reality that you can take it for granted that that is the way your reality will always function. You will become the ecstatic explosion of coincidence and synchronicity. Always finding yourself in exactly the right place, the right time, and reacting and interacting with exactly the individual you need to be interacting with so that you can be of service to them and allow them to be of service to you so that they can fulfill their purpose. So, who's to say you are walking down the street, you are saying, I must be about this business, if I don't do it this way, it won't happen. Somebody comes up to you and says, say, would you like to join me for a bite to eat? No, haven't got time. Must focus on this idea or it will never come to pass. Oh, well, if you are so set on it, but I would really enjoy your company. Well, lunch does sound good. Well, all right. Well, maybe it can wait for a minute, but only for a little minute. Otherwise, it might get away from me. All right, I'll go to lunch, but I'll only have a little bite to eat and then I'll leave. All right, all right. Oh, by the way, now that we are at lunch, I didn't tell you I invited another friend. And you start talking. and you find that you have something in common. What you have been trying to do is something they want to find someone who has been trying to do that, so they can assist them in doing so, which will assist them in doing what they're doing. What a lucky coincidence that you decided to have lunch instead of going on about your focused way starving. Now, many of you, in the portions of your mentality that you have chosen to believe in, somewhere in there say, it isn't that simple. Oh, he's just making an analogy. He doesn't really mean life is really that easy. Yes, I do. And it is. I will, this time, in this situation only, give you my absolute 100% guarantee that life works that way when you let it.
True.
Now, once you do it, you will create the reinforcement that lets you know it's not a fluke. You follow me? And you will then do it again, and again, and again, and create a momentum in that modality, rather than the modality of reinforcing that things don't work, which is exactly the result you get when you choose to play the skeptic and say, I told you so. Told you that would never work. Well, you were right, weren't you? Well, good for you. I am glad you were right. You follow me? Thank you!
You know, Bashar, money has to be one of the best catalysts for growth on this planet.
Yes. You know? That is why you have created the idea as your medium of exchange.
Yeah. Great. But, you know, because I've experienced, like, exactly how you... Well, you know I have. I've explained it to the group several times.
Yes.
You know, and then it's that thing of going back and saying, that's bullshit, that's not real. And then I create the idea that it isn't real, and then bloop, back in the pits.
Right. You see, what is so surprising to us many times is that you don't realize that when you say that isn't real, and you get the reality that reinforces the seeming unreality of that belief, that you are creating that reinforcement.
Right, exactly. Once you get the momentum of it, it's really...
Yes.
It's really
It is simple.
Do we seem comical to your people?
Not in a judgmental way.
No.
Is that safe?
I was not implying to answer my question.
Oh. Define comical.
A source of amusement and joy.
Yes. Always. You have never let us down. Always leave us laughing. If we were to create the concept that you call a nightclub on our planet, we would book you. Every night. Twice.
You and 11 others on your planet do this so-called work of interacting with us and with us.
Yes.
Do you then, when you're not in that special chamber communicating with us, when you're in your spaceship with the rest of the crew, or maybe you communicate with other people on the planet, do you share stories about your interaction with us?
Oh, yes, in a sense. It can be done by simply becoming the idea of the interaction and allowing any other being who wishes to sense that idea to simply glean of the interaction, and then they will know.
And is the result of that sharing of the idea of the interaction you have with us produce amusement?
Yes.
Okay. Like we would say telling a joke. But not judgmental, just...
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Bashar.
You! Then you.
Is that to me?
You.
To me? Okay, thanks. First of all, the scenario that you gave this woman here was exactly what happened to me today at lunch. So that was good.
Oh, what a coincidence! Another ecstatic explosion of synchronicity.
Very ecstatic. Okay, and the other thing is I'd like to ask you again, one more time, about Central America. I've been informed by a woman who works for something called the Office of the Americas that the United States government now has set up some way to provoke an attack by Sandinistas against American military that would be either contra or American provoked on or around the 14th of April, which would be designed to put momentum behind the bill to give contra aid on the 15th.
Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised.
All right.
I'm just asking you if you sense that that is going to happen. That you have an awareness of that coming.
I will say that I sense it is probable. Does not mean it is going to. It will depend again upon the degree of willingness of individuals who do not participate in that reality in that way to simply share that idea and see if any effect is taken up by any other individuals.
Okay.
Not in the sense of being paranoid or accusatory, but simply as an idea without judgment.
I have one more question for you, which is...
the 14th day is a highly active day as we perceive it. Also the 11th. Now, no structured predictions, no guarantees. However, this nuclear test in your Nevada desert is beginning to build the same kind of patterns that you built before what you call your shuttle destruction. The constant postponements, the technical failures, the coming together of the idea of peace in the same area. At the same time, there exists within the same area the incorporated city that also represents almost everything that you consider to be polar to harmony. Yes. Your peace marchers are arriving in that city. At the same time, you are thinking of conducting your nuclear test, which is of a great deal of, in your terms, controversy between you and what you call your Soviet Union. The idea of testing of your nuclear devices. It is all coming in you, or terminology, to a head at the same place at the same time. There is a potential for the same kind of effect that happened in your shuttle. Yes. The probabilities are shifting. We cannot say what direction you will solidify them within. But pay attention. It is hinging on the idea we had discussed of the incidents that can occur to allow each and every one of you to finally make a decision for yourselves as to what kind of a reality you do wish to have upon your planet. We shall see what happens. And as we have said, between this time, the 4th day of this month, and in that way, the 11th, is a high period of activity, and in this way also specifically the 14th has been added. There's a very concentrated period on that day specifically of many things. Not so much just wait and watch, but act as well. This is still an opportunity. The postponements are still an opportunity for you to create a sharing, a communication with those individuals For one of the reasons for the postponements are the sharings of individuals who say they do not wish that device to be exploded. If you are willing to add your voice to it, perhaps it will not be exploded. And perhaps it will be a step towards the understanding that it does not have to be exploded, which can be a step towards the understanding that you do not need a defense, which can be a step towards the understanding that you are all in this together. All of you. It is up to you. We have laid out some of the probability lines and what we perceive to be the energy constituents and the equations and the formulations. In your terms, the numbers are clicking and shifting wildly. We cannot see into which slots they will fall. It is up to all of you.
Who would we write to? There's a list. There are 3 lists on the table here. 3 different lists of addresses and names that are available to you by the tape deck, so anybody that would like them.
There you have it.
And 3 of us, Bashar, 3 different people brought those things tonight. Talk about your synchronicity or whatever.
Thank you.
May I ask you one more question? I'd like to know if, I was talking to Steve today about movies, and if movies are a creative form of expression also in the 4th density or something like them, if that's a necessary or an enjoyable creation.
Can be. Why not?
I don't know, I just wanted to know if you did it.
Do you mean our civilization?
Yes.
Oh, no. Not so much in that way, no. There are projections in a sense. They are not so much of that nature or technology, but more a mental idea. More the idea of directly projecting into the mind the scenario. You follow me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar? Yeah. Yes, Bashar. Thank you. We were talking a few moments ago about amusement on your planet. Last week we talked about clowning around on your planet.
Yes.
And I was wondering, could you relate to us something that you on your planet would find really funny?
Almost anything. Now understand, it is not so much that we encapsulate our humor. It is not so much that we have jokes or situations that are specifically created that are always taken for granted. Well, that's a joke, that's a funny situation. Okay. It is not encapsulated in that way. Okay. Things happen, we find them amusing.
Okay, perhaps my question would be more along the lines of, can you give me an example of something that is happening, or if you want to refer to past, that has happened that you found really funny?
Well, I had described at one time the idea of the greeting of things not going as we expected. Did we share that with you?
Yes. Was that wildly funny to you guys?
It became so.
Do you have any other examples? I like that one.
Simply the idea, first of all, before we go on, that there came a time when we realized that in the greeting, well, how are things going? And the answer, not as I expected, we began to realize that that was a positive answer. That when things are not going as you expected, then you are utilizing your higher consciousness. So to us the idea, well, how are things going? Well, not as I expected. Oh, congratulations! Things are not going as I expected either. Oh, wonderful! That is an idea that has come up in that way throughout society. Now, another has been a time, specifically, as you would call history, when there was gathering many individuals, many portions of our planet, in a sense, as you would say, shortly after we recognized that there were other individuals and other civilizations with whom we could form a contact, become part of an alliance, as you say, an association. There was gathering. And there was in this gathering presented the idea of a spherical globe, simply there to represent the idea of a world in general. Not that it had any specific markings on it. You follow me? Yes. Now, in this way, there came all these individuals and they regarded this globe as a method by which to describe the idea of how certain areas of our world could be, let us say, channeled towards specific interactions with all of these other worlds we had discovered we could be in communication with. And that as we added this idea of forming, let us say, well, how would you call them?
Regions?
Well, all right, so to speak. More like, well, clubs.
Okay.
Clubs to deal with this idea, clubs to deal with that idea regarding our interaction with the different worlds. And as we formed all of these clubs, then one individual began to say, well, that club is a good idea, and this club is a good idea, and there are some similarities in that way between the two clubs. Maybe we should form a third club of the similarities. And then another said, well, yes, but then there will be many different clubs with the idea of similarities, so there will be a separate club of similar clubs, and then we have to have an interactive club between the similar clubs and all the other clubs out of which the similarities were formed, and well, it did not go on much longer because everyone started laughing. And simply realized that, as we had already, in a sense, created ourselves to be, we were one club, and that any differentiations within it were going to be malleable, and were going to shift according to the type of interaction we would form in any given moment. So we became the club of all clubs, and allowed the membership to change as it needed to define itself according to the interaction we were creating with any other world club. Now, I don't know about you, but that was a good one for us.
You'll need cyber for us, too.
All right.
I actually did enjoy that very much. That was very much fun. My other question is, last week you also said expect miracles, and I just wanted to say that your use of the term expect is not the same use as you say
no
expectation, right?
Correct.
You mean trust that there will be miracles coming up.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar?
Nice.
My friend Tim and myself made a gift for Daryl. I wonder if you can hold it maybe, well, if you can infuse some energy into it for him. Is that possible?
It is done.
So be it then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Bashar.
You. Thank you.
I'd like to explore a couple of things that have already been brought up.
Well, all right.
One is the idea, of course, of money.
Of course.
And,
oh, yes, I forgot. Of course. All right.
the idea that I'd like to put out is that
excuse me.
What?
That was a big joke, too. I forgot. That kept us going for quite some time. Continue.
I'm pleased that we're entertained.
All right.
Comment on that?
Well, simply in this way. When individuals will find that they attract themselves to certain situations, and they feel that the situation is worthwhile for them, understand in that way, money is no object. If they find that they feel that the situation is being presented with what they perceive to be a lack of integrity, then money will become everything. And in this way, they will not want to share more of it. And in this sense, simply recognize there are individuals who will, in your society, choose to create scenarios that will be for one purpose and say it is for another. And there will be individuals who simply will be doing a service and will be provided in that way by the people they are doing the service for automatically in that sense. There are any number of variations of that type of exchange, and you can simply recognize that there are ways to have that exchange by giving over great sums of money, and there are ways to have that exchange with no exchange of money at all. And all the different variations in between.
Now, what works for you, works for you. If you find simply that the principles in that way work for you, and in addition, the principle of not turning over the idea of your money in that way does not work for you, then create a scenario where you find you have the ideas without the exchange in that sense. You are always self-empowered to attract yourself or create the reality in which you moderate your own level of the exchange in that way. But it is simply representative of the idea that there is an exchange. Now, the basic fundamental idea for any so-called service in that way that you desire to give an exchange in that way of monetary substance for is simply that it is based upon the understanding that if you are willing to give some exchange at all, then you have a vested interest in receiving the information. You will pay attention. You follow me? Mm-hmm. But it does not take very much of your monetary exchange in order for you to feel you have a vested interest. And individuals who simply think that it requires great sums of that are in that way, in a sense, going beyond the original intent of the exchange itself and simply have an exchange of the money and not so much of the original information, except of the information that you are exchanging great sums of money. Is this making some sense?
I think I had some blocks to anything that makes sense in this area.
Well, simply, if you feel that the information in your estimate is worth something, pay it. If you don't, don't.
I understand that.
If your exchange even needs to be in money, which it does not have to be.
Mm-hmm.
You follow me?
Yes.
Simply the principle of the exchange is that your attention is in what you want to learn. And you, quote-unquote, get your money's worth. It is simply an exemplification of the idea that sometimes, not always in that way, but when the specific scenario is created that way, an individual who goes to get information, who is not willing to form an exchange, sometimes does not get anything out of it. As you say, you get what you pay for, not meaning it in the negative sense. But if that you are not willing to invest anything in it, you usually will not allow yourself to get anything out of it. You follow me? But that level is equal, and in that way does not have to become unbalanced in the sense of saying, well, this information is worth your entire life savings. In that way. Now, you can believe it is so, and you can gladly agree that it is so. And if you trust that at that moment it is so, and you give over your entire life savings, you can understand also in that way that you are not losing anything, and that if you need that amount of money again, you will have it automatically and probably very quickly. You will never lose anything in that sense. But it is up to you to regulate how you feel the exchange is then equal. If you think that the idea of someone saying, well, it is worth your entire life savings, and you say, well, no, it's not, then to you it is not. So, don't give your entire life savings. You follow me? Mm-hmm. Say, I think, well, for me, it's, I don't know, it's worth 5 cents here. Or, it is worth a service. Well, all right, if you are so eager to tell me what you have to say, or if I have attracted you to tell me in that way, well, all right, I feel that some exchange is worthwhile. Are you interested in knowing what I have to share? Now, understand that an individual, and this is perhaps where you are sensing the idea of lack of integrity, that is requesting from you in that way is the idea that they are not taking from you what you have to share of your integrity, but only what they think they want from you judgmentally. And that is what you are sensing. You follow me?
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, repeat that.
Simply in this way, the scenario that has been described is that individuals can say, well, all right, yes, I do wish to interact with you. I will give you something, and I do, in fact, want something from you. But what I want from you is not what you have to offer, but what I judge you had better give me. You follow me? Making themselves and what they have to give more important than what you have to give to them as well. Does that clarify the idea to some degree?
a little bit of clarity on was when you were speaking to John about somebody breaking into his automobile after he put nice white lights in it and thought it was protected.
Yes.
You said the idea of protecting something was calling attention to it, so therefore it was not protected at all.
In a sense, it can work that way. The idea that you think you need a defense automatically creates an attacker that can break through it.
Okay, so if you do not defend in any way, it seems to me that just gives more opportunity to more people to take whatever they want easier.
Well, but it is this way. Now, this may seem again, maybe, to you an oversimplification and again a paradox, but such is life. If you don't own anything, you own everything. And nothing can be taken from you. You follow me?
That was my next statement. It seems like the only way to protect what you have is to not have anything.
But understand again, paradoxically, if you don't own anything, you own everything, and you will have exactly what you need to have. And it cannot be taken from you ever, if you are willing to own it with an open hand. Because you are not protecting it in that sense. You do not need to protect something that you know is there to serve you at a specific time and no longer. For understand that when something needs to be with you to serve you, nothing can take it from you. And when something takes it from you, so to speak, you don't need it. You follow me? That is the idea, the paradox of the situation. If something can be taken from you, you don't need it. You are giving it for someone else to use.
Not willingly, it doesn't.
You create the judgment that makes it seem so. Understand again, the paradox is truly that if an individual, let us say in your terms, is utilizing this camera, and to them it is simply a temporary tool that they are using for a certain form of expression at that time, and if that tool needs to be with that person always, it always will be. It always will be. If they simply know that as long as it is with them, that represents the time it needs to be with them, then they will know that there may come a time when they won't need it any longer. And so they will not care beyond that time if it is not with them any longer. That attitude is what paradoxically will allow that object to be utilized forever. Because they will not be putting the attachment on it that says, you have to stay here. You must stay exactly in the same shape and form and situation and relationship to me forever that you are in now. Well, your higher self says, change is the only constant. And if you are going to force me, to force you to face change, all right. Camera in the car. Take it so that you will reflect to them that on another level they know change is what allows them to know that they are always abundant in different definitions of the term. So, you can have an abundance of poverty as well as an abundance of money. As long as you view them to be equal, then is when you will always be able to choose the positive manifestation rather than the negative. But feeling that, oh, well, if I'm not careful, I could become broke, I need to protect my assets, protect them because they might leave and then I will be broke. You are saying that being monetarily abundant is better than being abundant in any other way. And you make the difference, you make the differentiation that calls attention that something in your life is being created to be unequal to everything else. So everything is going to attract itself to that. to allow it to regain its equal status. Understand that when individuals place themselves, in your terminology, in your society, at the bottom of the barrel, so to speak, then all directions are up. Everything looks equally good. You follow me?
Yes.
That is the idea. It is you simply know that if you need to feel you have to protect something, then you don't truly believe you own it. And that is what is being reflected. How often do you think, give a second thought to something you take it for granted is yours? Never. But by bringing attention, oh, well, I better start protecting that, you are saying to the universe you don't believe you own it. So the universe says, away it goes. Very obedient universe you have created.
I don't usually think about protecting things. I just assume everything's going to stay with me as it's with me behind. And when somebody else comes in and takes things away, then I feel very violated.
Then you are playing the game of victimhood.
That they had no right to come and take something that was theirs.
Understand, we are not sanctioning that they are not functioning within their own integrity. For it is also their duty, when you attract someone to play victim with, for them to say, no thanks. I will not be the perpetrator that reinforces your willingness to be a victim. That is their role to play. They do not have to be the perpetrator. We are not sanctioning that they do this. We are simply letting you know that because there are individuals who are willing to be powerless in that way and be your puppet to act as the perpetrator to reinforce your victimhood, you are also responsible for co-creating that reality by attracting them to begin with. By your belief that they can exist in your reality. That you do have things that can be taken from you. You follow me?
Yes. Well, I turned it into a pot after replacing the 18th window in my car.
Yes.
I decided not to get another stereo.
All right.
And I've used that time on the freeway and going to and from for silent pursuit.
All right.
Thoughts and things.
All right.
I do miss listening to your tapes and listening to music occasionally, but I decided not to provide the universe with another stereo.
Now, understand in this way, the idea is that you can have as many stereos as you wish if you allow the idea for why they are being taken to serve its purpose, so that you can know that the purpose can be served in another fashion. And simply the purpose that is being served is to allow you to look at the scenario that you are creating victimhood for yourself. You do not have to. Now that you are beginning to recognize that you do, in fact, own everything, and if you believe that, then you can have 50 billion stereos in your car, and they will not be touched. Because you know simply that they are there to serve a purpose, and it does not matter whether they are there or not. They are there serving a purpose. If they do not serve a purpose for you any longer, you wouldn't want them there anyway. You follow me?
Was surrounding yourself with white light and protection calling attention to you?
In a sense, it can. Understand there is a very, in your society, subtle difference between simply knowing that you are the idea of white light and all it represents, and feeling that you need it for protection. There is a difference.
Okay, no, I do it just because it feels good. And
All right.
I like that idea.
Fine. Then it is not a protective idea.
No. Okay, just one more thing. Very recently, within the last 6 weeks or so, I've been having an awful lot of dreams about animals. And
All right.
I've never dreamed about animals before. I've had elephants and kangaroos and giraffes.
As you become more fourth density, you will understand that animal consciousness has been created to be a reflective guide upon your planet. In this way. And you are now becoming more in communication with that portion of the subconscious, unconscious, mass consciousness that is represented to you as animal life forms. They are extensions of your own consciousness in many ways, and act as loving reflections and guides for you in many symbolic fashions. You are now simply coming into communicative consciousness with that level of your own godhood.
owls that have moved into my yard.
Now, I would think that would be an obvious symbol.
I like that.
Yeah. What do owls symbolize for sure?
The wise old owl.
How about hawk?
Keenness, clarity of insight.
Elephant.
Now, you already know you ascribe the idea of memory to them. They are walking history, in a sense. The idea of the embodiment in that way of that which is the foundations upon which you are built, the sureness, the strength, and the gentility of strength. You follow me?
Wolves.
Wolves in this way are not dissimilar to your society in many ways. They are their own society.
Coyotes?
The idea of coyotes are the idea of what you have created to be the renegades in your society. Spaceship is an animal of a different color.
Is that Pud?
If you wish to take it that way.
And birds?
Well, there are many different ideas. Again, we have discussed the idea of the owl, the hawk, the hummingbird representing the higher consciousness, the accelerated rate at which you are moving in that way. Now, butterflies, in that sense, represent the idea to you of metamorphosis.
Puma. What about a mountain lion or puma? I ran across that this past weekend, and it struck me.
Did you feel the strength within them? The strength within yourself?
No, actually, it showed me a fear.
All right. That can be strong. But in this way, understand that many of what you call the wild predators represent all the different structures you have created to be your unconscious fears. Recognize, as we have said, that the reason that animal life on your world is territorial is because you are. On our world, it is not territorial. You follow me?
What about seahorses?
To some degree, they are very, in your terms, magical beings. They are bridgestones through archetypal mythologies. Now, they also, by way of their environment, provide symbolism not only for you, but also for the dolphins. Horses, in that way, are represented in what you call your mythology as a new way, a greater service, carrying you through life in that sense. They are similar to the idea of what you call your dog, being of service in that way, and recognize that in that sense, what you call in your American Indian culture, they recognize the connection immediately upon discovering, in your terms, the horse. For in their term, what they call dog and being of service in that way symbolically was, in their term, Shanka. And they named the horse Shankawakan, greater dog. Dolphin is not exactly an animal, as you call it. It is water human. You share common souls in that sense. Now, fourth dimensional transformation, the cat exists in third and fourth density equally. We will, at this time, extend to you your ability to know that you exist on all those levels as well, and to begin to pursue communication with all the different forms of the consciousness with which you have surrounded yourselves and with which you embrace yourselves lovingly. The animals, they do love you unconditionally, for they are willing at a moment's notice to reflect exactly what you contain. Allow yourself the freedom of interaction with them in that way, and allow yourself to marvel at the love that you share between you. We will once again extend our appreciation for the interaction with you that you bequeath unto us as a gift of unconditional love. We extend our unconditional love and our perception of your acceleration as dream beings upon your planet to continue the sharing that exists in the eternal now moment forever. We thank each and every one of you, individually and collectively. Action to you all, and to all a good night. How'd everything go?
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Gary.
Thank you for being here tonight, everyone.
Thank you.
I don't want to go. What about the word?